AI is a lot more annoying in duos since seems like they spawn the same amount as in quads, which doesn't make any sense. They should scale it, but they don't, of course. More broken plates, more wasted ammo on AI that just continues to respawn. Again, it's a horrible mechanic. You at Infinity Ward, whatever employees were on board with having AI and BR, you should be ashamed of yourself, and you should not tell people that you worked on this game because that's embarrassing for you. And you. Holy shit. I think I got down to AI more than players when we played.
Activision devs do not play their own game.
3,000 devs can't figure out how to add a reconnect feature to a AAA title, I guess. I don't know.
Because Infinity Ward doesn't tell their consumers anything.
Maybe that'll take some of the sweats away from Shoot House.
You can cope about that, for sure.
Thanks for tweeting, at least. Thanks for doing more than Infinity Ward has done. They just keep tweeting about the soccer bundles in the store.
Things that are bad. We've got a couple words. Why don't you kick it off, Tanner?
This is going to be a longer section than the first part you guys heard.
Change it, obviously, of course. Woo! We are recording. Welcome, boys and girls, to Dropshot, Call of Duty Podcast, episode number 294. My name is Casey, also known as Razinon. And today, I am joined, once again, by young Tanner in the long sleeve, which is a fit you don't see super often from Tanner.
I usually wear long sleeves often. I just haven't much this year. Maybe some been having my heater on higher. I don't know. I used to wear, like last year and shit, I wore long sleeves a lot.
Yeah, I feel
during the
like
winter, I throw those suckers on. I just haven't worn them much this year, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like you're either in a jacket or just a t-shirt.
Yeah, I think that's why I've been wearing a lot of hoodies in the house. I think that's what it is, yeah.
Which makes sense. So, anyway, welcome to the show. Today, we are talking about Warzone. So, couple things. First of all, I might sound different on the microphone.
Little echo, yeah. A
little bit of an echo, yeah. I am still in California. We are pre-recording this episode because I will be setting up my internet by the time you guys hear this, hopefully, in my new home. And so everything in my bedroom in the studio is gone. I have my computer set up, which I'm taking myself, and then I have a sleeping bag on the floor, and that's it. That's all that's in this room.
Oh, you really? How long have you had the bed gone? Since Friday?
Yeah, whenever. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, which is fine. I mean, I have carpet in here, and I'm not that old. It's fine. I sleep fine. I don't know. It's not as good as my bed, but it'll do for sure. So yeah, that's why it sounds all weird and echoey. This should be hopefully the only episode where that's the case. Besides the Thursday episode you guys have also heard by now, if you're a regular listener. So, yeah, hopefully, by next week, if all things go well, then, well, pretty much no matter what, by next week, I'll be at the new studio in, and the sound will probably be better. I don't know when my bed is going to get there. And I don't know when I'm going to have it all set up. So it might be a little echoey when I get out there. But
we're going to get a little vlog?
Yeah, I'll do some vlogging, I think. It's going to be
we should do a little
real bitch
tour.
And I am not excited. Oh, yeah, a little house tour. Yeah, we could do that. Maybe make it a little Patreon upload. We'll see.
Ooh.
Put that behind a fucking paywall.
We could. We certainly could, yeah.
Yeah, so anyways, this is pre-recorded. And hopefully this is the last time we do this for a while, because once again on Saturday I will be out of commission. What was I going to say? So the date we're recording this is the 10th. Today is January 10th at the time of recording. So keep that in mind. Now, what we're doing today for this episode is talking about some Warzone duos. We got some feedback, some good feedback from, I don't know who started it, but then a couple of people agreed. And
I think L did.
Yeah, L was like, you guys, you talk about Warzone a lot, and you cover Warzone strats and loadouts and shit like that. and you keep saying like, well, we only play quads, so this might be different in solos or duos or whatever. You guys should like play some solos and duos so that you can speak to that more and kind of discuss what you guys see as the differences in how your strategy might change or your loadouts or whatever might change going from like quads to solos or duos, which is an interesting ask. So I had basically told him, yeah, we're not gonna really do that because you could do that you could say that about like every Call of Duty game mode. And I've already given the spiel, but like, we're not going to go play search to do a search episode. I'm not going to go play hardcore to do a hardcore episode. I'm not going to go play CDL Mosh Pit to do a CDL Mosh Pit episode. We're just going to talk about things we do. However, a lot of people do play solos and duos and shit because you guys are lonely and don't have friends. And I think it's a fair ask to ask for like duos or solos, at least every once in a while, because I think this applies to a big part of our listener base, you guys. So I made a bit of a disingenuous comparison when I said, oh, well, am I going to have to go play zombies now? It's like, well, no, none of us play zombies, but a lot of us play duos. That's fair. So I was like, okay, you're right. We should do that. And it's a good idea. And it sounds kind of fun because the last time Tanner and I had played duos was the launch day, and it was fun. And then even prior to that, we did some duos on Caldera, and we did pretty fucking well, actually, surprisingly. So we thought, you know what, this is a good idea. So what we did today is played some duos. And I've been gaming here and there with Tarkov, but I haven't had a ton of time, and with all this moving dog shit. And even if I had wanted to play Warzone in the little bits of time I've gotten, no one would want to play with me. And one thing I will not do is play solos. Duos I can do. Solos I refuse. If all of you play solos and stop listening unless we do content on that, I guess I'm getting a job. I'd rather work in a fucking cubicle. I'd rather fill up gas for people. Not that there's anything wrong with that, man. Than fucking play solos to do a podcast on that. So that was never happening. So I said, okay, well, I guess I'll play, some Tarkov or whatever. But yeah, today we played some duos for not too long, not as long as we would like. I think an hour and a half. Because unbeknownst to me, I had to sign fucking mortgage documents for literally an hour and 15 minutes with some Trumper lady. She was batshit crazy.
Was she?
Oh yeah. She was a fucking.
Was she what is that job called where like a
notary?
Notary, okay. Yeah. Notary. She's a notary. Yeah.
Real fucking lunatic.
If I'm not mistaken, just about anyone can get their notary license like online. So I feel like it is a lot of weirdos. I've dealt with one also, and she was a weird lady too. Very weird lady. So
yeah, yep.
I think it's just kind of the job. I think it's something that you can do very easily.
That is the thing, and this is what pisses me off about a lot of jobs like that. Is like, so she's like, whatever, 60 something, easy. Or a very haggard 50 something, I guess.
Nothing wrong with that.
And she's been doing this for a long time. And she takes it really seriously. And it bothers me when people who are doing jobs that are really not that serious take them very seriously. And it makes me annoyed. And
it's a weird job. Yeah.
It is a weird job. And it is important in the sense that you need the fucking signatures and the thumbprints and the cum samples. It's important that it happens, but the act of doing it, I don't need a tutorial on how to sign my own fucking name, which I've been doing for 25 years. I don't need that. Or a guide on how to put my thumbprint on the fucking thing. I I get the concept, lady. Okay, settle down. And it really, when you're doing a job like that, she's been a notary since the fucking 50s probably. For that long, you just get real serious for no reason. And I've worked everywhere. There are people like this in jobs that are not important. If you're a cardiothoracic surgeon, cool. You want to take your job dead ass serious? Good. I hope so. You're going to be getting rib spreaders out and cracking people's chests open. Good for you. I hope you take your job seriously. If you're making coffee, settle the fuck down. So I'm not saying this is the only person that does this. It happens all over the place with jobs that are just not that serious, and they take them way too seriously. I hate it. It made me the most annoyed when I worked retail. Like Starbucks had a lot of these people where I'm a barista, I'm making fucking lattes and I'm charging $600 for them. That's my job. That's it. You make the latte, you smile, you say have a good day, you get the fucking cash, you give them the change. Not that serious. A lot of people at Starbucks love to think they're doing fucking brain surgery, and it bothers the shit out of me. I'm like, bro, relax. Okay? Just hand them the coffee and get the fuck out.
They want a full pension. They want $45 an hour. They want 4 different unions, etc. Yeah.
Yeah,
like, settle down.
That shit. And Starbucks provides like pretty much all of that.
They do. Yeah, they do a lot.
Talked about. But it's also like they just think what they're doing is so important. And like, these are my coworkers, and I'm like, dude, shut the fuck up. This isn't that important. Like, do a good job, but don't be like an uppity cunt about it. I don't know. Anyway, so that was my experience. So, yeah, so unfortunately I had to do that. So that cut our playtime a little short, and I have to do a ton of other shit today. So we're recording now. So one thing I will say is that, if we had our druthers, we would have played more duos before, recording this, but we just haven't. I just haven't had the time to. So I'll also add, if the interest is there from you guys, and if you want, we can absolutely revisit this topic again, like in February. Play more duos, give it like get way more games in, and then revisit this episode if you guys would want that. If
maybe like more of like a strategy thing, because this is just a lot of like thoughts in general. And honestly, a lot of things weren't much different than quads, actually.
Yeah, it's a
from our first experience. There's not nearly as many differences as I figured there would be when I think about things, and also that people say like, "Oh, these strategies don't work for this or that." Work for us. I don't know.
Yeah.
So I think we could play more and do that. Yeah, we would rather do this the end of the month, but we need to get a Saturday episode out, and they haven't updated the game once in 4 weeks. So this is what we're going to do now, and we will definitely revisit this. I'm sure more people want to hear about it, and we'll probably do like I think like more of like a strategy thing. What works, what doesn't work, get way more hours into it. But
exactly. As opposed to what we're doing today, which is kind of contrasting duos with quads, because that was the principal concern with respect to the feedback, and we're going to get into that. But yeah, so full disclosure, we didn't play too much duos lately. So yeah, and once again, the impetus for this episode is a lot of you guys seem to, because that's the thing too, if we get 5,000 downloads an episode and 3 people get in the Discord and say the same thing, that probably means like hundreds of people feel that way. That's how like all these, that's how like studies are done and shit. Which I totally understand. So that's a good idea, and thank you to you guys who said that. And we're going to address specifically what some of you guys said. So, they will be addressed through the course of the episode. We kept it in mind. So we're gonna start here with the jingle. You guys were not ready for that one. You guys weren't ready at all, and I hit you with it out of nowhere.
You think you caught him off guard?
Yeah, I think that time I did, for sure. I think that time I absolutely fucking did, man.
For sure, man. Yeah. Great work out there, buddy.
Thanks, dude. All right. So, today, comparing and contrasting / impressions on Warzone 2 Duo Q. 2v2 v2 v2. What if I said them all fucking 75 times? I wouldn't do that though. So anyway, and that was a good one. So there are timestamps in the episode, by the way. So if you guys are mad, you just listen to all of that.
Oh, they're furious.
Mad, I guess. I don't know. So anyway, Warzone 2 Duos experience. So we're gonna start. We've broken this up into very loosely into a couple of sections here. And we're going to start with kind of just our impressions so far on duos in general. Again, we played them for a few hours on launch day, and then I don't think I played them again until today because we have friends.
I think we have, yeah. And that's the other thing I was going to say in the intro. I've played a lot of duos actually with like Cope and other people, and no one's online. But yeah, it's just like, most games aren't fun enough for me these days for me to ever want to play with. If there's more people on, I'm not going to choose to not play with friends just to play another game mode. That's what it comes down to. Because it's like, I'm playing the game now to have fun because nothing matters in Warzone. There's no ranked mode. We'll never get it. So, it's like I'm just playing for fun. So that's why we end up playing quads most of the time, is because there's always more than 4 people online that we can play with.
That's a good point too. But like if I play solos, it means I'm actively shunning all the people online to play solos.
Mm-hmm.
And even if I did like solos more, I would still probably not play it because there's the added factor of like talking to your friends in quads.
Yeah, it's a whole experience. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, you can't catch me playing Warzone solos. I tried it once in Al Mazrah and I said, nope, never doing that again, ever.
You tried it?
I did one time when
mistake,
like first few weeks when it was really popping. Like, I feel like playing Warzone right now. I'm going to play solos. Oh my God. Yeah. Miserable. Solos just fucking terrible. Anyways,
always is.
So yeah, I think kind of to start off for me here, it's definitely, so it's more ratty than quads, of course, but it actually wasn't as ratty as I thought it would be. Would you agree with that? It didn't feel like solos Caldera ratty. Like people laying in bushes.
I think what happened, I agree with you actually, but I think here's why. We were wisely, I would say, playing fairly close to the stronghold we captured most of those games. Mm-hmm. And people would push us because they want to capture the stronghold and get their loadie. So I think if we were in like a random building, I don't think we would have gotten pushed nearly as often. I think we only got pushed one time when we weren't by a or maybe twice when we weren't by a stronghold. So that is kind of surprising, but I think again, it's because we were by that thing that they wanted, which is a loadout,
Yeah,
exactly. It wasn't that ratty early and mid game. Late game, it was still giga ratty.
That's true. That is a great point. Yeah, so like we had an experience in one of the games where it was late game. You were in a shack. I kept hearing footsteps. I don't know if you didn't hear them at first, but I was like, "There's guys like on your building." I
forgot to like fuck with my audio. I didn't have the cans on. I would have heard the guy.
Explains it. Yeah,
that was my fault.
So you could like hear one outside, then he like lays prone. Kept hearing moving around. Like sounds like there's like 2 of them. Guy pushes in. You kill him. Team wipes. Like, oh, okay. So then you're moving around a little bit. You're forced to move because of gas. And I was like, dude, I swear I'm still hearing another guy moving around up there. Sure enough, you finally ran out of the building. You had been in there for probably a minute or so,
fighting too, and the guy just chose not to come down.
You run out. You start getting shot. Smile. The guy was sitting up there pre-ADS the whole time, up above you, just waiting for you to run out. And it's like in quads, you don't get an experience like that because people would just push you and you'd have actual gunfights. Yeah. But in this, it's like that's like what it comes down to is like so many people end up saying like, oh, solos and duos require more skill. It's like, but does it really? Because to start with, usually the players in solos and duos are dog shit compared to quads. The sweats are usually in trios and quads.
Think of
or the sweaty lobbies.
Watch.
Think of Exactly. Not many of them play solos. So it's like, it's full of burger bots. So that's cool when you actually get to fight them because they're easy to kill. But then they just play so weird and ratty and in ways that you wouldn't expect, and that gets you killed. Like there's just... I ran into one building. I had downed some guy. I had never heard his team. I could hear him running around down there. I downed him. Finally, I like jump down. I like go in another building. I'm looting up. I could hear him reviving. I wasn't sure if he was being rezzed or a self-res. So I run in, and there was a guy to the left sitting in the corner, like crouched, like the most typical crouch in a corner pre-ADS, of course, not making a sound. Of course, I run around the corner and jump around, and his AA drags to me and doesn't miss a single shot on me. It's like, that's the duo's experience. In something like quads, in a situation like that, people would push out and push you because you downed one of their teammates. So like you're getting like more gunfights like that. But in duo, it's like, oh, I'm down. I'm fucking shaking. I'm shaking and I'm sitting in the corner and I'm going to kill you when you come around the corner. And it's boring. I don't like that. I would rather have people push me and fight me than just sit in a corner like that. So it's like, you know, a lot of people say the modes take more skill. I would argue that doesn't matter as much anymore in Al Mazrah since positioning is so important as it is, even in quads with no redeploy balloons, you know, changes that like Caldera didn't have, no fast transit system, etc., no bomber planes to jump out of and get behind someone. So it's like, even in quads, you have to play smart in this map, and I don't think that differs a whole lot. You definitely don't have to play that much more smart or smarter at all in duos, I don't think. I think that's the number one thing that I noticed right away. It's like, they really don't play different in that sense. It's just when you get in the actual gunfights, you're more likely to run into people than sitting in corners versus pushing out and shooting at you. Yeah. But when it comes to the gunfights, 2v2 gunfights, 1v2 gunfights are more fun than having a quad fight, in my opinion. That is more doable and clutchable and fun than having 4 players fight 4 players. Something about it just gives me like a better feeling when I'm in those gunfights. I feel like I end up winning a lot more gunfights because if you're in quads, unless you're like right there with your teammate, you may have 3 guys shooting at you, and in duos you're going to have 1 or maybe 2 guys shooting at you, and it's a lot more like one-on-one gunfights, which I tend to win those more often. I've noticed I was winning a lot of gunfights, but also, like I said, that comes into solos and duos players on average definitely lower KD lobbies than trios or quads, so that plays into it as well. But yeah, it's just people, you run into too many little rats sitting in corners, and it's boring in that sense. Yeah,
for sure. Yeah, the 1v1s and 1v2s happening super often, yeah, way more fun than like a quad fight. I totally agree with you. Because when it's like a 4v4 gunfight, like mid-range, I mean, it's like
doesn't feel as rewarding or something.
It's like an RPG who can like put out more DPS. Like which team does more DPS? That's like who wins. And it doesn't feel like you're really out. I mean, obviously you are. I'm oversimplifying it, obviously. But like, yeah, we both, in the 4 games we played, we both had a nice little 1v2. We each did.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Or multiple even. I remember one specifically I had, and one specifically you had. But like, that's really fun. And I think this is going to... I saved this for the end, but I'm just going to say it now, because this is such a through line for everything we're going to talk about. The biggest difference between quads and duos ultimately can be boiled down to this. You as the individual comprise half of your team rather than a quarter of your team. So you are more impactful, and that can be a good thing or a bad thing depending on what you did. I mean, if you get a kill in duos, you've eliminated half of the other team. Yeah. If you get a kill in quads, you eliminate a quarter of the other team. And like, I would be a lot more confident winning a 3v4 than a 1v2 in general. So getting that like 1 kill in duos like means a lot more. But also, if you fuck up in duos, you're half the team. Half the team just fucked up. This literally happened to us. We were in Sarah Bay. Dog shit. Awful. Probably the worst place to fight in Warzone 2, by the way. Why is that? It's all fucking little rat buildings. That's why.
A lot of little rat build. A lot of cheese, yeah.
A lot of dog
cheese.
shit. But anyways, Tanner and I are scaling the rooftops, and we're doing great. We're doing really well. And then I simply fell off of a roof. And then that was basically the beginning of the end, because then I got downed by some guy who was on another roof, and I would have been totally fine if I was on the roof. I also would have been resable by Tanner if I was on the roof. So I jump down, I get downed, I get a self off because Tanner killed the guy that downed me.
Yeah.
But then now we're split, and I'm like across the street from Tanner, who's on a rooftop, and I'm in like the bottom floor, so we don't even have sight on each other.
No.
So then it was just it was all ruined from there. And if we were playing quads there and I fell off, okay, well, I die, and then like 3 of my teammates are still on the rooftop, and that's totally doable. Like it's not great, but it's fine. But if I fall off and die in duos, okay, well, that's a disaster. It's like a way bigger deal.
Yeah, it's like, cool. Then it comes down to like, oh, cool, now I'm the last guy left and there are no buy stations, versus like, okay, cool, we have one guy dead, there's no buy stations, there's still 3 of us alive in quads. So yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a good thing and a bad thing depending on what happens, but you are way more important to the team in duos than in quads.
Yeah,
and this might sound like a fucking obvious point, which it is obvious. Like the smaller the team, the more how you play matters. You could take this to the extreme for solos. I mean, if you make a mistake, your team is dead. So like that, it's kind of obvious, but also it does. Again, it's going to be a through line for like everything we talk about here. And this is so again, one example is this is why it plays so much more ratty. That you could boil it down to this is because if I'm playing quads and I push some team and I know that it's kind of a dumb push, there have been times where I actively, consciously think this is a dumb push because I think there's one guy in here, but there might be 8. I don't care. I'm just going to push it because I'll get bought back, and I'm not ruining it for the team if I do this. But imagine if I was forcing like half my team to like push there. Like that would be way worse. Yep. So like
that is true.
It impacts how you play, and that's what makes people play more ratty, is because they know like, okay, well, I don't want to leave my teammate alone, but I'm fine leaving him with 3 other people or 2 other people plus him, you know? So that's kind of the thing that's the biggest difference. And then how that plays out is, I think, what's interesting. But the biggest difference so far that we've talked about is how ratty it is. Because people don't want to, sacrifice half the team. So they're afraid to push more.
Exactly. They are.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is what it comes down to. Yeah, so my next thing here, I guess this really isn't related to duos.
I think it is.
I'm trying to think. You think it is? Because more teams, maybe. But
God.
Basically, the streak spam seemed terrible, awful.
Yep, sure did.
I mean, I don't think I've ever held and called in more streaks in a game than that game at Seraph Bay, and we didn't even make it. We weren't even like top 10 teams. And we had called in so many streaks. I had 6 in my backpack. You had 5 in your backpack. We had both already called in at least 3, maybe probably 4.
I started wasting them because I was bored.
Yes, we would literally waste them because we would kill some guy that had 3 streaks on him. I was completely full. I'd be like, cool. I precisioned AI. There's nothing else to do. I'm like, I don't want to waste these. I'd rather just use them. So I would just call them in random places. Like, oh, maybe there's a guy over here. Boom. Call it on the building. Get it down through a building. Smile, because that still happens.
And we wiped the team that way, yeah.
And even every time we would get pushed, no one pushed us ever. Every time someone would start shooting at us and we were in a building, what would they do? They'd call it precision. They would call it mortar, and they still wouldn't push for some reason. I'm like, what are you guys doing? Why is one teammate or both of you not pushing on that? They would just stay and keep shooting us from their windows or whatever. But it's like you don't get into gunfights without streaks. And more importantly, that is just a Warzone 2 backpack problem than a duos 100%, problem.
100%. Yeah, I think it is kind of related to duos, but before I get into that, I want to say this. This isn't related to just duos. I have a little tip. I have a pro tip that I just somehow, because I'm an idiot, just figured out today. Is in general, and like in Warzone 1, precisions were seen in like generally as like the better streak to a cluster strike. Cluster had advantages, but precision was by and large, if you had to pick one, which you did in Warzone 1, you usually pick the precision. In this game, you don't have to do that. So this applies to every single party size for Warzone 2. You should really not sleep on mortars, and here is why. Because I've complained about this a lot about Warzone 2. Because you can hold an infinite amount of streaks, what often happens is you're in a building, you get a precision called on you, you get a mortar called on you, you get another precision called on you, and you're just locked in that building until you get pushed, and then you will like always lose those. It's such a huge advantage if you're the attacker, especially in quads, when if I call the mortar, I'm the only one who can get damage to it, not my teammates. So that's super fucking annoying, and there's no outplay potential is what I had said. That's all true, and I still think it's like really dog shit that this is possible. And I do still agree with Tanner that your kill streaks should do damage to all of your team, not just you. That would solve this problem, because it's really dumb that there can be mortars going off, but because my teammate called them, I'm immune to them. That's really stupid. But anyways, that's never changing, so we have to deal with it. What I figured out today is you need to hold a mortar or 2 or 5, you've got space, so that when you get precisioned and mortared, we did this today. We were in a gas station. We had just killed a team. So Tanner precisions a gas station. It gets it down through the building. We kill the team inside. We finish that guy, kill the other guy. And then another team mortars and precisions our gas station.
Yep.
So we were in the same situation I was just bitching about. And I said, okay, well, I guess we wait here until we die, until we get pushed. And we can't hear them because of all the streaks. We don't know what angle they're coming from, and they know exactly where we are. And if they peek us and we get them low health, they can just unpeek, fully plate, and we can't push them because there's streak spam going on. So it's just so strong for them. So I said, oh, you know what? I'm going to mortar ourselves also. So we had the enemy precision on us, the enemy mortar, and then I mortared ourselves. So now they can't push because there's another mortar that will do damage to them. And guess what? They didn't push. They couldn't because I mortared ourselves. So pro tip, and I can't believe I didn't think of this sooner. Pro tip though, when you're getting streaked in the building and then you know they're going to come fuck you, just mortar yourself. Save a mortar for that specific purpose. A precision could work, but it might be airspace too full. It probably is. And also, you can't, it doesn't last nearly as long. It's area
Well, it's also more likely to kill you through the wall usually.
And that too, yeah. So save mortars for that situation. I promise you we would have died there if we didn't have a mortar. Mm-hmm. So save mortars and maybe like literally have one on reserve exclusively for this purpose, especially if you're playing a building a lot. I can't believe I didn't think of doing this sooner, but I'm glad I did, and that's something I'm absolutely going to keep in mind now.
Yeah.
So, anyways, on to the streak spam in general. There is streak spam in quads, for sure, and that was no different in duos. I do think there's more in duos, though, and I think here is why. You don't have to hold as much ammo in duos, which gives you more slots for streaks. I think there is something to that. Now, I could be wrong. This might be getting too theoretical, but here's the thing. In quads, you need a ton of ammo because you can't loot a kill you got until you killed the whole team. So we have to kill 4 people before we can go loot their ammo. But in duos, you only need to kill 2 people before you can go loot their ammo. So you need to expend a lot less ammo before you can go loot up more ammo. So you need less in reserve. So I was running around with 1 spare AR stack in my backpack rather than 2, which is probably
what I was doing as well.
Quads. which does free up a slot for more streaks. Now, again, that might not be that big of a deal. I don't think it is, but I think it's possible that there will tend to be more streak spam in duos and quads. And what else this made me think of is that in solos, I would imagine there's way more streak spam because you don't need to really hold any spare ammo in solos.
You probably don't even have to use your gun in solos. We're just calling streaks on everything.
Actually, yeah, that's your ammo. It's just all streaks.
I think the other thing more than anything is that since we've had Warzone 2 for a time period now, I think people have realized the strategy is just putting as many streaks in your backpack as you can. And so more people have just gotten used to doing that. Because we haven't played much since Christmas, and I guarantee you if we go play quads, it'll be the streak spam will be worse than it was when we played last. Yeah. So I think that's the other thing is people have just figured it out from watching streamers and whatnot. It's like, oh, every time I get into a gunfight, I have a streak called on me. Maybe I should start buying streaks, looting them more often, picking them up instead of leaving them. So I think that's what it comes down to as well.
That's part of it too. Yeah, that's a good point. What do we got next here, buddy?
Next year, little thing here. AI is a lot more annoying in duos since seems like they spawn the same amount as in quads, which doesn't make any sense. They should scale it, but they don't, of course. So more broken plates, more wasted ammo on AI that just continues to respawn. Again, it's a horrible mechanic. You at Infinity Ward, whatever employees were on board with having AI and BR, you should be ashamed of yourself, and you should not tell people that you worked on this game because that's embarrassing for you. And fuck you. Yeah, pretty straightforward there. We don't just holy shit. I think I got down to AI more than players when we played.
I think we literally did. Like, I'm actually not kidding.
They just ruined so many gunfights because 2 of the games we played, I think our first 2 games, the last circle was like in with a stronghold. And why are the strongholds still being reinforced at that point? Stop reinforcing them. Either just lock people from getting their loadouts or change it to do something else where there's no AI. Maybe you have to fucking defuse a loadout or defuse some bomb, but it takes 30 seconds to defuse instead of 5 because there's no AI. Like, change something. We don't need AI coming in until the 8th circle of the game, right? It's just, it's absurd. It's stupid. Play tested, by the way.
Play tested for sure. The AI is like an actual problem in duos. Yeah. I'm almost positive they don't scale the number of AI. Yeah, and they certainly don't scale the damage or health based on party size. So it's completely fucking insane how many AI there are in duos or even solos. Like, I can't even imagine. It's absurd. It's the same problem as is in quads, which is that there shouldn't be AI at all in a BR period. Duh. But they're like a minor nuisance in quads. You have so much firepower. In solos, in duos, it's like an ordeal. Like, it's a thing you have to like contend with. And hopefully you don't get pushed by real players while you're doing that. Yep. Strongholds themselves, not that hard. Not at all. Pretty easy and straightforward. Takes longer because you have fewer people clearing the stronghold, which could translate to being more dangerous because there's more time for other people to push you before you have your loadout. But not the end of the world, although, again, remove AI from BR. But black sites, which are worth doing in quads, are... I don't know. Maybe we're just dog shit or we don't have the strats, but we tried 2 times to take a black site and we gave up. Because you have to kill a juggernaut with 500 billion. It has double the health of a big bird, which they took out of the game for having too much health. So you have to kill a juggernaut. 2 guys have to, right? All the while you're getting constantly flank reinforced by Sanitar's guards. So we're playing duos. There was a point the first time we tried to take a black site because we wanted like the advanced UAV or all the good shit in there. We both got downed at the same time. And luckily one of us had a self-res or we would have been team wiped by not even the juggernaut yet. But we're like peeking the juggernaut, trying to do damage. unpeaking because some fucking guy, some AI is fucking us in the ass. And they keep reinforcing until you kill the Juggernaut. But between reloading, plating, and killing the reinforcing AI, when there's only 2 of us, we don't have time to kill the Juggernaut. We're too busy getting our flanks covered. So we were there for actually like 3 or 4 minutes before we said, fuck it, I'm done. I give up. I don't care. Fuck the Juggernaut. And we just left the black site.
And like you said, it wasn't even, we weren't even getting killed to the Juggernaut. We couldn't get enough shots on him without then getting attacked and killed from the AI behind us. That just keeps coming in. They weren't even landing in choppers, I don't think. It's like they just magically spawned somewhere because they just kept walking around the corner. And then they just crack. I mean, we got downed a few times that instance, just broken plates, wasted ammo for then nothing.
Yep.
We did all of that. So I think black sites in general, I mean, those 2 games, a team ended up clearing it in one of the games. But the Seraph Bay black site was really, really bad. I think it's because like they're all on the lower level, whereas the one giant black site to the southwest of
a lot of
city,
them are taller. That's a good point.
There's staircases, there's people on the roof, there's AI outside. You can hold the staircase. The one at Seraph Bay, they're all on the bottom level, all attacking you. So it's like there's the same amount of AI at the black site, but they're all over you because they're all on the same level as you instead of being inside of a building, outside on top of it. They're all the same level with you, shooting you from everywhere. So I would say in general, if you get a black site key, don't worry about it. I think they're a bait because they're considerably more difficult to clear than in trios or quads. Eventually, after we started, I think we started running away from the Seraph Bay one because a team started pushing it from the other side. And we're like, okay, well, we're just fucking leaving then.
Yeah.
And just, we ran out of there with like no extra plates. So that was really fun.
Yeah. No one ended up getting that one. It was the next game that they got a black site and then they killed us.
Yeah. That Seraph Bay one was impossible. No one could. Yeah, exactly. So it's like we had sent that, like you said, literally 3 to 5 minutes of fighting AI, and all we ended up
boring and not fun. By the way,
and we ended up just having to leave. And what did we get? Less ammo and less armor plates than we came with, and nothing more. That's it. We got less trying to take the black site. So I would say in general, not worth it. It would have been nice to have the advanced UAV, and especially the second game. When it was the one by city, that one would have been nice to have because that was near the middle of the zone. It would have been great to have that UAV, but that one had actually 2 or 3 teams in there already fighting. The Juggernaut was still alive. Yeah, it was a mess.
Yeah, and it's just not fun to contend with.
Yeah.
Why don't you tell us the story about when we got pushed by those 2 guys that did have the advanced UAV? I downed one. I think you were able to finish him. I'm not sure if you were. But then you were having like a fun little 1v2 gunfight with them, and then you got flashed and killed by AI. Is that what happened?
Yeah. So like I could hear, they were like above me on the staircase. I kept downing them. We were like throwing semtexes, flashbangs back at each other. Downed one twice. Of course, he probably had 12 self-revives in his little tiny backpack. So we just kept selfing. Ended up going down, and I was like trying to like play the door, where you go in and out of the door, close it, pop open and stuff. They ran up to the roof and ran away. I heard another guy coming in low. So I start fighting him at front door. Then I back up a little bit. Smile, it's a black site. AI are still there, even though the black site's, quote, cleared. There are AI everywhere still. So there's AI on the ground. I'm trying to deal with this actual player as I push through like a second door, to try to, reload, plate up and whatnot from being cracked. And then AI starts pushing me. The AI shoots me, cracks the shit out of me, and then flashbangs me. Cool. So I can't see anything. I'm one shot. So I start running. I somehow make it outside, get out the door. And as I'm running away, trying to plate, still can't hear anything because the flashbang is like just now ending at that point after I had ran 40 feet, right? And so as I'm trying to plate up, I hear footsteps. I'm like, cool, this guy's coming around the corner. I have one plate in. He's going to have full plates, jumps around the corner, just shreds me. And it's like, he just runs by the AI and it does nothing, of course. But since I was in that area trying to fight them, I'm just getting reamed by them the whole time. It's like the AI isn't what killed me. They just get me fucked and then I die to a player. It's just a waste of time.
Yeah, and it's so unfun.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. That's what we just kept saying. It's like, oh, this is so fun fighting AI. Like, actually fuck yourself, you at Infinity Ward, if you thought this was a good idea and play tested this and had any sort of fun. You're an idiot. You shouldn't be working in game development. Fuck you.
I completely agree.
Joe Seacott, fuck you.
It's just such a disaster. I don't understand who it's for. I don't get who in the player basis supposedly enjoys the existence of AI in the BR. I don't get it. Like, who is the target audience here?
How is a 0.3 KD duo supposed to even clear a standard stronghold?
Yeah, I know.
Like, how is that possible?
Exactly.
Unless the AI is skill-based, which is entirely possible there is. There have been rumors of that since the game came out. It's possible. Who knows? That's definitely something I'm sure could easily do, is skill-based the AI as to how much damage they do to you, how often they miss. Because, yeah, like at that black site, we could not get 3 shots out of a vector before they would down us. It's like, dude, what am I supposed to do?
Yeah, I know.
Like, we're both above average KD players and can't fight AI. It's at a black site, at least.
Yeah.
So it was a disaster. And the AI, and so I think bottom line, what we're trying to get at is the AI is much worse in duos than in like quads. Because there's no sort of scaling there from what it seems. Taking the stronghold, getting your loadout is just as easy, but once they start reinforcing you have to fight around there, and then you start getting third party by other teams, that's when it gets a lot harder in duos compared to quads. And then also black sites. I would not even bother with a black site, I don't think. If I was a duo, I don't think I'd ever even try it again.
Yeah.
It just seems like a waste.
I agree. And luckily, when we were at that black site in Seraph Bay, no one pushed us in those 4 minutes we were there.
Mm-hmm.
Because if they did and we didn't know they were there, we were instantly dead easily.
Yeah.
Super easily.
I mean, the AI, they snap you, they stun you, they flash you, they smoke you, they shoot you. It's crazy.
Yeah. Down you. Yeah, it's crazy. It's ridiculous. So yeah, exactly like Tanner said, the bottom line is the AI is much more burdensome in duos than in quads, which is just annoying. I mean...
Yeah.
And the ultimate difference there is that I might go for a black site in quads. I won't in duos. I certainly won't in solos. The risk isn't worth it. So,
I wouldn't go to a black site in solos unless I had 4 self-revives, probably.
Yeah. Even then, I think you're
that one game when we were both downed, as soon as I selfed, the AI was already walking up to me. So it's like, cool, they don't shoot me when I'm down. The literal millisecond I get myself off and my character starts standing up, they're standing on my body and they both just melee me, and so I'm insta dead. It's like, well, at that point, just have them shoot me, right?
Yeah,
if I'm not even gonna be able to get up, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
Piece of shit AI, fuck you.
Yeah.
And that was not a black site, those guys.
Yeah, it's just a disaster. So anyway, moving on. I don't know how relevant this is to duos versus quads. This is one point where I would like to get more games in before I can really make a determination. But we definitely underutilized vehicles and we got punished for it. So we didn't win any games. We did pretty fucking well every single early and mid game though. Like, we were getting kills. We were having fun. We were doing well. We were making it to like late game, I would argue. Yeah,
and then we'd get duoed to a team with 0 kills sitting in a building, not making sound.
Right. So one thing that I think the biggest thing we could have done that we just didn't do, underutilizing vehicles. We like never had a vehicle late game to rotate. And I think maybe in Sarah Bay that wouldn't have mattered. I just fell off the roof. It wouldn't have really mattered there because we could have stayed in that area for quite a while and then gotten a vehicle when we need to go out of the building dense location. But every other late game, we could have and probably should have had vehicles and we just didn't. But again, I don't know how duo specific this is because you should be using vehicles like in quads too. I get the impression that it's easier to rotate on foot in quads than in duos, but I don't know why that would be true. And maybe it just isn't true and I just feel that way for some reason. I don't know. I don't know if this is actually different than quads, but vehicles are good for making rotates, and we underuse them.
There definitely were not many teams using like cars or anything, I noticed. And no one takes choppers ever for some reason.
Yeah, there was one team in a chopper we saw. Meanwhile,
and we downed them both, and then they survived.
Yeah.
Yep.
So anyway, yeah, I don't know. That's something I'd have to think about more. In duos and solo players, solos, I imagine vehicles are definitely more important than quads.
For 100%, yeah. The thing is too is like some of the vehicles are just, they're so slow and they handle so poorly that it's like it makes me not want to get them, because if you accidentally make one wrong turn, hit a tree or something, then you're just going to die, because it'll take 5 seconds for you pressing forward to kick in before the vehicle's moving. At that point, someone has fired 3 sniper shots into your chest and killed you, you know?
Yeah.
But from the solos gameplay I've watched from Metaphor, every person is in that little light armored vehicle just driving around VoIPing each other. That's what that becomes. So, but something like the cars, they handle so poorly. I would rather, I think, be on foot than be in those, because they're slow, have a terrible turning radius, and they just take forever to get up to speed. So I think you're better off on foot, actually.
Yeah, the downside, of course, of being in a vehicle is that people know you're there.
Exactly.
There were people that we fucked up and even killed who were in cars that we maybe wouldn't have known were there if they were on foot. But, you know, you're a really good target. I think it depends, too. Like, again, like I said, in Seraph Bay, with all those buildings, I didn't want a vehicle. I wanted to just stay on the roof. But the mantling is dog shit in this game, so over the ledge I go. Smile.
See ya.
Game over. So, like, there, I wouldn't have even wanted a vehicle, but there were other parts, like where was I with that kid above me? That was
cemetery.
Oh, okay, yeah. So it's a cemetery. Not many buildings there. There, a vehicle would have been really fucking nice. Because even getting to the building where I ultimately died from the top of was incredibly sketchy. Like, I barely got there. And if I had a vehicle, I would have just driven right through all that shit where there's no cover. It would have been way better to have a vehicle in that situation. In Sarah Bay, it would have been worse, because then you're just alerting everyone to your presence when you otherwise could just be hiding in the billions of rooms in the area. So that's definitely part of it too. Is there are areas where being a big beacon on the map that says, "Hey, enemy here," by being in a vehicle, is the lesser of two evils, which is running outside and with no cover, you know. So that's another thing too. But again, I don't know how different that is for duos versus like quads. But something to think about. Another point here, and I'm surprised I thought of this, but I'm glad I did. Shockingly, we did not get third-partied very often at all. I don't think we got like super third-partied once. We had like maybe a few situations where we kill one team and like pretty soon after another team's fighting us, but we did not get like third-partied like you always would in fucking Verdansk and Caldera, especially Caldera with how mobile everyone is and with UAVs being $1 by the time Ted had his way. You were constantly
free UAVs for everyone,
fucking constantly third-partied in Warzone 1. And it makes sense, I guess, when you think about it, but surprisingly, we did not get third-partied as often as I expected us to. And I expected us to get third-partied more because, again, if there's still going to be 150 people, but each team is half as big, means there's twice as many teams. So with all those teams, you would expect to get third-partied more, but we didn't that much. Why do you think that is? Do you think we just got lucky, or?
Yeah, I don't know either. Or it is just, less mobility maybe, so people are, they can't get there as quickly.
Right. That's my biggest theory, yeah.
Maybe because when we talk about streak spam and holding streaks, we're talking about mortars and precisions. There aren't that. I mean, there are a lot of UAVs, but not that many. So maybe something to do with that too is since those are limited, less people are popping UAVs.
It's the least common,
especially when it's duos, and that's way more teams on the map trying to buy a UAV. That could be why. So less teams popping them, less likely to like push and third party and see people fighting because they don't know there's fighting going on. So it could be something like that, I wonder.
Yeah, true. Yeah. Yeah, UAVs are definitely the least common streak at buys and as loot.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, that was surprising. We didn't get third partied much at all, really. All the third partying goes on actually at strongholds. That's where all of it happens. But outside of that, there was none, basically.
Yeah.
And that's probably because people don't know where everyone's at because so few UAVs.
That's definitely part of it. Yeah, I think it's that. It's less mobile because there's no balloons and shit. But I think mainly it is actually the UAV stuff. Yeah, you're right. Because people don't know where you are, so they can't third party you. I will add, by the way, we did not play duos the same way we play quads. And again, back to the through line, this goes back to it is much more risky to be like pushing everything like we do in quads and like constantly getting bounties than it is in duos. Because if you make like a risky push in duos, it could be the end of the team. Whereas in quads, it's like, you know, unless you're all pushing in at the same time and then there's a cluster mine or some shit, like it's less risky in general to play super aggro in quads. More people to buy you back, more money, more people to cover for you while you reload or whatever, or to res you, obviously, all of these things.
Yeah.
So we played way less aggro than we do in quads. So there's another difference. But it's not like the reason we played duos differently is in fact a consequence of the game mode. So I think you can attribute it to duos itself, not to us, like, you know, changing our strategy arbitrarily. Like there's a reason we are pushing less in duos. It's because of the mode. So there's like another pretty big difference. And again, this is exactly the corollary here, obviously, is ratting more. We weren't like sitting in corners fucking not moving at all, but we were definitely chilling in areas more. We were patrolling like a particular area, building around the stronghold where we were getting the sweeps way more than we do in quads as a consequence of playing duos.
See, and I don't get mad at when people do that. Like when we see people in a building and they're going between like window and window, that's fine. Like when I'm talking about like we would run into some rats, like literally not making noise, sitting in a corner, the most typical little rat, pre-ADS on something, just waiting for you to run around the corner. He's probably AFK, but his aim's still hitting me and he's still not missing a bullet on me, you know, right? But it's like, you know, you have to hold buildings and whatnot because that's the smart way to play. And there were plenty of people doing that, and I wouldn't get mad at them. Yeah, they're just playing buildings like they should play. That's how you win the game. And on Mazra a lot of times. But yeah, it's like there's a difference between holding a building and ratting in the building. There's a big difference there.
Yeah, a huge difference, which we've talked about. Yeah, I mean, luckily Tanner mopped them up, but I walked into the building. This is a separate occasion from Tanner's
thing. At Fortress, yeah.
Yeah, I walked in and there was a guy literally not moving at all, crouched in the corner, pre-aiming the door, and as soon as I came in, boom, I'm dead.
And he hadn't made any sound.
He was running away from us.
His teammate was running and making sound the whole time. That guy never moved. He never made a single sound ever.
He was just waiting. That's a rat.
Yeah.
That's a rat. So
that's a little dirty rat pig. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, not third party that much. And then last thing here, interesting point.
Yeah. You certainly hear more footsteps in duos, which is nice. That's always the case in COD. So like, you know, we bitch about footstep audio a lot. This is coming from people who play quads. So quads is going to have the most sound clutter of all the modes just because you have for people talking. And if you're playing with your friends, you're talking a lot, you're messing around, you're laughing, you're shit talking on VoIP, which all that leads to no footstep audio. So actually, when we were playing duos, and I like knew someone was there because UAV or something, and I would, go in with my SMG. Most of the time I could actually hear people. That was pretty nice. So that is, there are people out there that on TikTok mostly, which, doesn't say much, that think like the audio is fine. All of those people 100% have never played a mode besides solos. That's what they're basing it off of, is they have nothing else going on. So all they're hearing is the game. And they have their volume fucking maxed out, and they hear a little bit of a footstep and they think it's fine, right? So it's certainly better in duos, which is, it is nice hearing them. I mean, I think the only time we didn't hear them were those two guys sitting in the corner. Besides that, I would hear people often. Moving, yeah. It's and still not loud. Like that rat that was on your roof, he should be making way more noise than that. I mean, that he was fucking 3 feet above you. Yeah. He should be making more noise than that, but he wasn't. So situations like that, the footstep audio needs to be raised, but you could very faintly hear someone there. Honestly, I feel like if that was quads and we were all like hanging out, talking, laughing, you wouldn't have heard anything there. That's what it comes down to. So
I totally agree.
That's what's better about the smaller team sizes, is you hear more in general.
Yeah. And that is, and guess what that contributes to, by the way? More ratting. Why? Because you get punished more for pushing, because people are going to hear you more often. Because there are fewer
that's the
people
argument.
in their
people
party
always
chat
make
talking.
With dead silence and multiplayer too.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that is also true. So yeah, it's nice on the side of hearing the footsteps, but it's not nice if you're trying to push someone and they maybe hear you coming more than you're used to.
Yeah.
But anyway, Happy New Year from our friends over at MANSCAPED. The ball has officially dropped, but that doesn't mean you have to drop the ball on your balls in 2023. Whether you had a New Year's kiss or not, the leader in below the waist grooming has you covered for your much needed resolution of bringing sexy back. Join the 7 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with our exclusive offer. Go to manscaped.com and use code DROPSHOT for 20% off and free shipping. Let's have a toast for a new year and a new you with no pubes. It's a new year, fellas. New balls with the global leaders in below the waist grooming. This year, take your package to the next level with their Performance Package 4.0 and other premium wet goods. Inside the Performance Package 4.0, you'll find the signature Lawnmower 4.0. The advanced skin-safe technology reduces cuts and nicks on your delicate balls. It also comes equipped with the 4000K LED spotlight that will shine a light to the promised land 2023 looks to be. A grooming routine, of course, is not complete without applying Crop Preserver and Crop Reviver before showing off your 2023 self. These unique formulations take care of the smelliest part of your body and are a huge boost to your confidence into the new year. And of course, to complete the set, Manscaped threw in their Shed travel bag and anti-chafing boxer briefs, which I actually have on right now, by the way. Shout out Manscaped. As free gifts to keep all your goodies stored comfortably. If you really want to make 2023 the year to remember, make sure to try out Manscaped's wet goods as well. This includes their ultra premium body wash, 2-in-1 shampoo, and deodorant. These products are the perfect follow-up after your New Year's gym sessions. Cheers to new balls in 2023. Once again, 20% off and free shipping with the code DROPSHOT at manscaped.com. That is 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com. Use code DROPSHOT. Time to feel sexy and free this 2023 with Manscaped. Okay, so those were just kind of some general impressions, thoughts we had. Now some other things here.
Yeah.
First of all, let's talk about the drop strat. Yeah, go ahead, Tanner.
I think this is one of the big topics that I feel like people think maybe won't work in duos. So just to quickly reiterate, if you don't know what the drop strat is our coined strategy on how to get a loadout. You land at a chopper. You obtain the chopper. No one takes them. We like the one at airport often. You loot around. If you land airport, there are 5 caches, 5 hidden little stashes along the airstrip on the far east side. No one touches them. Sometimes people will land there, but if you get the chopper, it's like you can land on them and kill them. It's always an easy fight. So you get the chopper, that's number one. You loot around for a little bit, and then you get in the air. You get airborne. You're airborne as soon as the stronghold's open. You are going for a stronghold the second they become available. You either find the closest one, or you find the one that you think is the most safe. You land your chopper there. You fight the AI real quick. You defuse the bomb. You get a loadout. You leave. It's that simple. That's the drop strat. Sets you up for the rest of the game. Medium backpacks, gas masks, armor boxes, muni boxes. A bunch of money, plates, or streaks, all sorts of shit. You go to a buy, and then you just go from there. So the question is, does the drop strat still work in duos? Because we had pretty much only tried it in quads. Yes, and absolutely, and it's not much of a difference. We were pretty much always the first team to a stronghold with the chopper. There will be ones that people take closer to you, so you just have to go out of your way a little bit. No issue there. And I'm still just so shocked that people don't go for helicopters often in this game. If we want a helicopter, we get it. If we mark a helicopter and land there, I don't think I've ever fought over a chopper in this game, which is odd.
At all. Every game.
Yeah, you just don't fight it. People don't take them. They don't realize how strong they are. People just end up not getting their loadout quickly because they don't get to a stronghold quick enough. So that's super weird. But the airport strategy was working really, really well for us. We also landed at oil field a couple times up there. Got that chopper. Went to a stronghold. It works great. The drop shot works certainly for all modes. Maybe not solos. I don't know. We'll never tell you. We'll never test it. But it probably works for that too. Well, I guess it doesn't because there's no choppers in solos.
Oh, well, right? Still get a car. I don't know if there are, but get a car.
I don't think there is. But yeah, so the strategy works just as well for duos, without a doubt, easily.
Yeah, so the two big pieces of feedback were like, you guys should play more duos or solos, because a lot of the strats don't apply to me, and a lot of the loadouts tips or whatever don't apply to me because I play solos or duos or whatever. Those are the two big things, the strategy and the loadout discrepancy. And since we didn't play enough duos or solos to say, we're yeah, maybe that's true. And we're going to get into the loadouts in a second, how they may or may not be different in quads versus duos or solos. The strategy, however, I don't see it. I don't see how the strategy is much different at all in quads versus duos. You still want to be the first one to a stronghold every game. And the way to do that, Tanner just outlined, the patent pending drop strat, trademark pending. So now I can confirm that that's true. We got to load out every single game with no effort, easily, and it set us up to do extremely well in the mid game as well, which we did every single game we played. And we haven't played COD in a week. So this was not a problem, and it was precisely the same strategy as it is in quads. We did the exact same thing, at least to start, at least to get us through the mid game. Now, there are, again, strategy-wise, you probably shouldn't be getting as many bounties and, pushing everything as you do in quads. I think there is a difference. But also, and we always say this, too, is, that's not really the strategy to win in quads either. It's just how we play, because it's more fun that way. So I would say the optimal strategy to win in quads is to do the drop strat, get your loadie right away, buy your secondary, and then rotate smart, hold power positions, rotate early, have munis, have armor boxes, have ammo, and have streaks, and have a gas mask. And I would say that is it, literally exactly the same strategy you should be doing in duos also, and in solos also. So for those of you who are saying, oh, well, the strategies you guys talk about in quads just don't apply in solos or duos, we weren't sure if that was true or not because we hadn't played solos or duos. And I'm still not 100% sure that that is untrue, but I'm 90% sure that that's untrue. I can't imagine the strategy is different. It was working for us also in duos, and it would also work in solos. I mean, I could take a stronghold solo, not a black site, but I could take a stronghold, and I would still want to be the first one to take the stronghold, and I'd still want to do everything we just outlined. I don't think the strategy really does change at all from quads to solos in terms of winning games. Now, in terms of like kill chasing, there's going to be a lot of differences, I think, because in quads, if you're kill chasing, you probably want to split like 2 versus 2. And then there are all kinds of intricacies there. And I think the strategies between quads and solos or duos in terms of getting as many kills as possible would in fact be meaningfully different. But we're not like kill chasers. I'm 30. So that's never really been something we talk a ton about.
You don't get kills. You can't kill chase.
The strategy to be a really good kill racer, first and foremost, is to be really good at the game, like shooting your gun and winning individual heads-up gunfights. And that's something you can't really teach. You can help, but you can't. We've talked about this all the time. LeBron James is always going to be a better basketball player than me. It doesn't matter how many tips fucking, Michael Jordan gives me. LeBron is still always going to be a better basketball player than me. A lot of kill racing and being really good at that just comes down to natural aptitude. So that's never been our focus. But again, as far as general strategy goes, if we're like winning games, I don't see what you guys are saying. We always said like maybe this doesn't apply in solos and duos. And I still stand by that, but it's like a very faint maybe now, based on the very little that we played in duos so far. Again, we will revisit this. We'll play more. If that opinion changes, we'll let you guys know. But every time we didn't win a game, it was because we didn't adhere enough to the strategy that we know actually works, which is, in this case, I think our biggest problems were splitting, which I did on accident because I fell off a roof, or not having a vehicle when we should. And these are both things we know we should have done. We just didn't do them. It was a failure in execution, not a failure in planning. Or in the plan, I should say.
Yeah, so that strategy still works very well. You can absolutely do that in all game modes. If it's not working for you, I don't see how it couldn't.
Skishu.
Because it's like, I mean, unless you're really not at the chopper quick enough and going to the strongholds, like I say, literally be in the air when the strongholds are opening, I don't see how it can't be working for you, because it's like we're always the first team there. So if you're not getting there first, then you are doing something wrong most of the time, or you get super RNG.
Yeah, sometimes you get unlucky,
and every stronghold's on the other side of the map, but that's not usually happening. So
yeah,
this strat works very well. If it's not working for you, then I don't know. Let us know what's happening, and we'll try to give you tips on it or something.
Yeah. So there are differences between duos and quads. We've been talking about some of them, and we'll continue to talk about some more. But in terms of the strategy we talk about or have been talking about not applying to duos or solos, I just don't think that that's true, to summarize everything I just said. So that was one of the big notes and feedback. The other one was loadout, which we're going to talk about right now. So I will start by saying this. LMGs are a much bigger liability in duos than they are in quads. And I hadn't thought about this until I played, so it's good we did. But I was using the RAL, that fucking chunker, and like the RPK seems to be like the most meta gun in the game still since launch.
Yeah, the RPK is still the meta.
Sick updates. Sick game that gets updated a lot. Which is another LMG. It reloads faster, but still not like the fastest. What was I saying? So yeah, this is something I just hadn't considered though, because the RAL reload is really slow. If you're playing quads and you're using a RAL, or 4 of you are using a RAL, it's not like you're all reloading at the same time. So if we're in a 4v4 gunfight and I need to like get in cover and reload for like a solid 2.5 seconds, that's not that big of a deal because I have 3 other people to cover a push, to call out whatever to just not let me die, or to protect other teammates who are maybe downed or something, But in duos, and this happened at the black site, by the way, Tanner's downed. I have an LMG. There's an endless supply of NPCs that I'm gunning down. And then my magazine is low, and I hadn't gotten my SMG yet, and I'm not about to go fucking 5 meters away from these fucking AI, miss me with that, with my akimbo pistols. So I was like, all right, well, sorry, wait for 10 seconds while I reload. And therefore, LMG, and you can only imagine what that means in an actual gunfight with real players. We lose. We lose because I have an LMG in that situation against real players. Because they just pushed Tanner and thirst him. Luckily, it was AI. I was able to get cover, reload, but it just took way too long. And that would have been literally a game over in against real players. So I ended up switching actually to using the TAC 56, which I liked a lot better for duos because you can reload faster. Because you don't have the space to be out of a gunfight against real players for as long as it takes to reload an LMG, unless you're both like on a roof or something. And in that case, it's great to have an LMG, but you're not always going to be able to do that. So I think one big difference, which you guys did point out in your feedback, is like, oh, your loadouts don't apply that much to solos or duos. I agree with that in the case of LMGs for sure. I would never use an LMG in solos, especially. Because if you run out of ammo, and you're in a gunfight at 30 meters, you are super fucked. You are super fucked. Because you're not going to have time to reload, and therefore you're going to have to switch to your SMG best case scenario. And at 30 meters, you're losing to every AR in the game and every LMG in the game. It's really bad. So I would agree there. I would not use an LMG in solos ever. And in duos, I wouldn't either. I'd much rather have an AR, which I ended up doing. So there is one difference that I absolutely concede on. I gave up the LMG insta. Sure.
That's insane. I completely disagree with all of that.
Interesting.
I think if anything, the LMGs are probably better because having a 75, especially with the RAL, having 75 rounds with the RAL in duos, you're wiping a team and you have 48 bullets left in your magazine still. It's maybe with a higher fire rate LMG, but not once did I ever feel like I was in a situation where I died because of something like that. The only time that it got annoying was the AI. AI. That was the only time.
That's a good point.
I don't think. I mean, the LMGs. I understand your argument, but currently in this meta, you can't not use an RPK or a RAL if you want to compete. I was when you're using that TAC 56, I just kept thinking, oh my god, this thing is a hit marker fucking machine. And I'm looking it up right now on Sim. The RAL, I didn't put attachments on it just to get a quick test, but the RAL at a minimum kills 230 milliseconds faster.
Oh, I take it back.
That's what I'm saying. The TAC is basically the kilo. The TAC is at 60 meters is almost 1,000 millisecond time to kill. It's terrible compared to the LMG.
There's probably better ARs I could have picked, though, to be fair.
Not really. The only other meta gun is the TAC V, which is hard to control. So, I mean, the Kastov 7.62 maybe, sure, but so at 60 meters with no attachments, the RAL literally has almost half of the time to kill of the TAC 56. So I understand the argument once we get some gun balancing, but for now it's absolutely still LMG meta no matter what. You'll just lose every gunfight, I think, if you use an AR. When you were trying to rotate out of Seraph Bay and get to Cemetery where then that guy was camping on the roof, those guys you were fighting in the open, if you had a RAL on one of those guys, he would have absolutely been dead. I mean, you got probably 8 hit markers on the guy. I'm like, dude, that's a kill with 2 less bullets with the RAL right there. And I don't even think you cracked all of his plates at that point.
Yeah.
So, you know, as someone who's never liked LMGs, they are just so good right now. And the RAL especially just feels so rewarding. I love the way it sounds unsuppressed. I let that bitch bark. I don't care about hiding it. You know, I'll let that thing sing.
Let it sing.
Let it bark.
Yeah.
Yeah. So at some point, I think that'll make sense. But currently with this meta, I don't think you can switch off of an RPK or a RAL. I didn't die to anything else but an RPK, I don't think.
You might be right.
You don't see anything else. People don't even use the RAL, which is crazy. People sleep on the RAL so fucking hard, which is nuts to me. But yeah, especially since duos, you're fighting 2 players, and since we didn't get third party much, I never thought it was an issue having to like reload ever.
I will say this. I never died to other players while reloading an LMG or needing to. That didn't happen. I only thought of this because of the Blackside incident. But yeah, you're kind of right. Like, I'm not going to be in that situation against other players most of the time because there are an infinite amount of NPCs. So that scenario would only happen against AI, which is the only scenario it did happen against, which is what made me think I shouldn't be using an LMG against 2 actual players. But you're right. I probably wouldn't. They'd probably be dead by then, or we would be dead. Yeah, so that's a good point. Yeah. You might be right. You might be right on that point. Yeah. But I mean, I don't want to use a chunky LMG. That might be relevant. Yeah. So
that'll change. I mean, hopefully by next week that'll change.
Yeah.
Surely. Raven has did an update right before we went live. Some of the perks supposedly work now. Supposedly, we'll certainly see.
We will see.
But so we'll start getting updates now here and there for sure.
So speaking of loadouts, what about sniping?
Updated. Yeah, didn't use it enough to determine how good it is. That's one of those things that when we do a second episode on this, we'll talk a lot more about. I bought one because they're so cheap now. I put it in my medium backpack because I had one every game from doing the Dropshot and getting a medium backpack. And I used it. I brought it out like once or twice, got down with it. Actually, me and a guy traded. We traded sniper shots. I'm like, are you serious?
Oh, I remember this, yeah.
From like 60 meters away, 50 meters away, we traded it. I'm like, God damn it. But yeah, I mean, regardless, it's good to have, and there's no reason to not run it since there's no penalties, you know? In Tarkov, you can't throw 2 guns on because then you're so heavy and you can't move. This game, it doesn't matter. You can have a minigun, a grenade launcher, and a sniper, and you still run just as fast, basically.
Right.
So you may as well have it if you have a medium backpack. That's the biggest thing. And even if you're not like getting a lot of knocks and downs, I think it can be very valuable just because you can see people from far away and it gives you that zoom factor. Since most of the meta ARs, everyone's using like hollow sights, red dots, you're not getting a lot of zoom. Snipers are giving you the ability to see people from further away. Sure, you can take a shot at them. You're not going to down them in one bullet most of the time, but at least you know that person is there. You can watch where they're rotating to, gives you some intel. So definitely worth running because there's no reason not to. Again, if you clear a stronghold, you'll have $30,000, 15 kill streaks, and nothing to spend the money on. So there you go. Just go buy a sniper and throw it in your backpack. Maybe you'll come into a situation where you need to use it. Not often, though. I don't think it's going to come into play often. Now, would I main sniping in duos? Oh, of course not. Absolutely not. No. You should still use a fully automatic gun and an SMG.
Yeah, I think I agree. It would need more testing. But one thing Tanner was saying before we even started playing was like, we shouldn't both snipe. Like, if you want to snipe, tell me and I won't, or vice versa. And I was like, nah, you can snipe. I don't think I have one set up. So if you are going to main a sniper, which you probably shouldn't, definitely not both of you, unless you're both fucking insane, in which case be better using 2 ARs anyway, or at least one. Because, like, and it's nothing we've tried, so, I mean, maybe we will try both sniping and see how that goes. We did do that on day 1, and we won a game doing it. So, I mean, yeah. So it worked pretty well that game, but, I mean, you know, it's not a huge sample size. I don't know. But yeah, I just, again, I wouldn't recommend it just because you can't get those one-shot downs. And in fact, we fucking gapped a team that was sniping. And it's actually like, oh no, we didn't kill them. But we got away. They didn't kill us either. There was some guy sniping me on a rooftop from another rooftop real far away. And he landed a headshot on me, so because I was 1 health, but then I proned and plated to full, looked around for his teammate, trying to find his teammate, looked back at the sniper, started getting some shots on him, headshotted me again, didn't care, went prone, fully plated, and I said, okay, well, I'm done wasting plates, let's just leave. And we just left, no penalty, it's just fine. Now, to be fair, that guy was not going to kill me with any AR or LMG at that distance either. So, it's not like he would have gotten a kill if he wasn't sniping there, because he wouldn't. But also, you know, he didn't kill me. And if we were closer, if he was sniping me at like 60 meters, he would have died instead of just nothing happening if he were sniping rather than using an AR. Because then I would have been close enough to actually bark back at him and kill him. And he would have just kept getting me one shot every time he happened to hit a headshot through flinch, which would have been happening way more flinch at 60 meters. So yeah, I don't know. I still don't. And the proof is kind of in the pudding. We saw exactly 2 people sniping in whatever, 4 or 5 games. That guy was sniping, and then the guy that you said you traded with, those were the 2 people sniping. Out of how many teams did we see?
People know better.
Which sucks. I wish we could snipe. I would love more than anything.
Yeah, I still don't know how I feel about that. I want to snipe for me.
You're right.
But I know me running in the open, getting one tapped on this map, I would just immediately be like, okay, never mind, nerf snipers again. So I don't know. It is a difficult topic.
Yeah. So anyway, moving on here to rotations. Again, like I said when we were talking about the drop strat, I think rotations, if you wanted to play optimally in quads versus duos, I think the way you handle rotations is exactly the same. Rotate early and be in a power position. I think that applies equally in duos as it does in quads. I think it might be even more important in duos, though, because there are more teams, meaning there are going to be more potential rats on your journey from circle to circle that you're going to have to fight against.
Yeah.
So I think the strat is the same in terms of rotations. I just think you get punished more for not rotating well in duos than you do in quads, because you're more likely to run into another team because there are more teams.
Yeah, I feel like you probably need to rotate a little bit earlier too in duos and get to like middle zone quicker, because like we said earlier, in quads people are more likely to like be out in the open fighting, but in duos you'll run into those people just sitting in corners of buildings not moving that got to the zone quicker than you. So you lose that gunfight, not because they're better than you, but because they just chose that building to sit in a corner and not make sound and kill you as you run by. So I think getting to middle zone quicker would have been the play. We often we were like always, I feel like we had good rotations, but yeah, I think we just should have got to like the middle of the zone quicker instead of playing like kind of like the outside edge more. Because we weren't getting held. It's just go into a building and die.
Yeah, we actually weren't getting held because we did a pretty good job of rotating somewhat early, but it still wasn't early enough. We were never like running away from gas, in other words. Yeah. So we weren't getting held in that sense, but yeah, we were still too late because people had already set up in those areas. Yeah. What was I going to say? I don't know. I'm not sure. But yeah, rotations by and large, I think, is pretty much the same. Next point here. How strong are choppers, Tanner?
Yeah, this was just kind of going along with the drop strat. It's something I wrote down before we played. But the choppers for the drop strat are still necessary. It was still very easy to get them. Still worth going for over a car for sure. I think one mistake we made is I think two of the times we landed the chopper. I think the chopper was still okay to fly, and I think we just left it for some reason.
We had
at least one of the times. At least one of the times it was still up there, because I remember we ran away and I looked back and it was still up there. I'm like, fuck, why did we not take that? That would have been smart. But yeah, I mean, we did get shot at a lot with them, more like than I feel like we get shot at in quads for some reason. Not sure why that was, but yeah, choppers. The chopper drop strat was still working really well for us.
Yeah, for sure. One thing I will say about this, I don't know if this is relating to duos versus quads as much as it relates to Warzone 2 versus Warzone 1, but I'll mention it anyway. By far the biggest advantage of a chopper is, or the best use for it, is getting one right away so you can be the first to a stronghold. I think choppers in Warzone 2, no matter the party size, are way weaker mid-game and late game in Warzone 2 than they were in Warzone 1, because I feel like they are a lot easier to destroy, because you really often can't take much cover with a chopper as much as you could in Caldera or Verdansk.
Where you could like get around a hill or something, or get around a mountain. Yeah.
And also they're a lot less maneuverable. So even if the cover is there, it's going to be slower for you to get into it. So I think choppers, like in Warzone 1, if you had like 2 choppers in quads, you could easily take those to endgame. No problem. If you play smart. And that's what like all the best teams did.
Yeah, really. We would do that a lot. You remember that? We would often have a chopper like end game in Verdansk.
Yeah.
We would have
so easy to protect them. On that map.
I think they do seem to take more damage now, which goes in line because you can't repair them. No, like they take more damage when you shoot them, and they get blown up quicker, I think, in Warzone 2.
Yeah. I agree with you. And I think probably part of the reason they did that is because they're repairable. They wanted to balance them in some way, which I think is fair. I think choppers are I think the little choppers, which are the only ones in the game right now, are totally balanced and fine. But my point, and again, I don't think this really relates to duos so much as it does to Warzone 2 versus 1, is that they are just not nearly as viable mid and late game as they were in Warzone 1, which I think is fine. I think maybe even it's a good thing, but that's kind of off topic. That might be a discussion for another time. But we didn't even really try to keep choppers into the mid and late game. And when we saw another chopper mid late game, I was thrilled. We fucked those guys up.
Yeah, we
downed
did.
one, and then the other guy disappeared. I don't know where he went, but he wasn't a threat to us. Because he was just kind of fucked. Like nowhere he can go.
I think the reason we didn't use it is because in quads we like grab bounties after we get a stronghold, so we just keep flying around from bounty, grabbing it, chasing them down, killing them, getting another bounty. Whereas this, I think we just kind of purposely attempted to play slower, so we honestly like never thought of keeping the chopper for longer because we knew we weren't going to grab. We only grabbed a bounty like one time. I think that's part of it.
Also, it would have, even if we did, I think that's probably true, but also, even if we did want to keep a chopper for the whole game, with all the streaks, it would be so hard to keep a chopper alive, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because in Warzone 1, you landed on a roof, and you might have to avoid, at most, like 4 streaks, unless someone's sitting at a buy in quads.
Yeah.
But that never happened. It was usually like there's a precision every once in a while, you do a circle, you're good. In this game, good luck doing that. Like, it would be so much fucking labor to keep a chopper alive, and it would be really good. Maybe we should try it, but I don't know. It just seems like it's not that good. But early game, it is giga good, because it gets you to a stronghold fast. It's got enough health to do that. So that's the biggest advantage of them, I think. But overall, I think the differences between quads and duos are just not as big. They're not. It feels like a lot of the differences between quads and duos is a difference in degrees rather than like a difference in kind. So it's not that you're really going to do things much differently or play much differently in quads versus duos. It's just that in duos, you need to just be a little more careful in general. I think that's and a little less aggressive. But ultimately, the way you play, as far as we can tell so far, is the same. You still want to get to a stronghold first. You still want to rotate early. You still want to call UAVs. Like, you still want to be in powerful positions. And that's kind of it. And the differences are really just how aggressive you can get and how punished you get for making mistakes. I think that's ultimately what it comes down to. It really does not feel very much different to me in terms of how you should play in duos versus quads. And I would imagine in solos, I think the difference between solos and duos even is going to be bigger than the difference between duos and quads.
I agree with that 100%.
I think solos is where the game actually would be like fairly different.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's what I would say.
Yeah, it felt like a lot of it, we played pretty similar to how we play in quads. And I think that's the biggest factor. Whereas in Caldera, the way we played duos versus quads was like entirely different from each other. It was like a different game. But this, like, I don't know. Maybe it's because Warzone 2 is slower in general. So since duos is typically slower, it just feels so similar to quads. I'm not sure.
That is a good question.
Not nearly as different as I thought it'd be, and not nearly as different as a lot of people make it sound. Now, maybe the people that have said things like, you know, I play solos and duos, these don't work for me. Maybe they haven't played quads, so they don't realize it works exactly the same, and maybe they were just doing something wrong.
Exactly. Yeah, that's possible for sure.
Yeah. So could just be that. But yeah, I think the biggest takeaway is most of the strategy we talk about, I think, will work in duos as well. Almost all. I mean, down to, I didn't even think about changing my loadout, and after playing, I definitely wouldn't change anything with it. Fennec, Ral, and a sniper in the backpack.
Perks.
Same perks.
Either. Yeah, exactly.
Perks we'll get into more now that we have supposed, working perks. We'll talk about that.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Probably won't be in the duos episode, but we'll for sure talk about that at any time.
But we'll talk about that, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's kind of it. Let us know what you guys thought. To all of you who gave feedback on this, that was a good idea, and I still think there's some utility in this episode. I enjoyed recording it a lot. I enjoyed playing duos too. It was pretty fun.
Yeah.
It does feel different. I just don't think you play it much different ultimately. But yeah, I enjoyed the episode, so thanks for the feedback on that. And we hope you guys enjoyed. Let us know. And that's it. So, reminder, next week, hopefully I'm in the new absolute fucking studio. The hell was that? Did you hear that?
Yeah, it sounded like an alarm or something.
Like an air horn. That was weird. So hopefully I'm in the new studio by next week. I will be, probably, almost certainly. So things will be getting back to normal that week, and I think they'll be totally normal the week after that. We want to start doing some more gameplay streams. I feel like we haven't done one in quite a while, and I want to start getting some of those going again. So once I'm all set up, expect some of those for a few weeks at least, and I'm excited to do that. I'll probably end up doing those just on the main YouTube channel, but if not, I'll let you guys know. And yeah, that's it. So patreon.com/the Dropshot, best way to support the program. We do 5 bonus episodes a month. I know we haven't done any yet for January, but that's once again going to end up being a good thing. We're going to wait till they actually make fucking changes to the game, or try to, if they make any in January, before we start recording those. But we got a lot to do. Behind the scenes for January is going to be very interesting for those of you who have been abreast on things going on behind the scenes. We have a very exciting little news announcement to share with you guys. We have some other goodies to talk about. I'll talk about the move and shit too. And then we do 3 other bonus episodes. We do a Q&A, patrons only Q&A bonus episode as well. And then we do 3 just random Call of Duty related bonus episodes every month as well, for a total of 5. We do other things as well, so if you're interested, if you want to support the show, or if you wanted more content, patreon.com/thedropshot is the first place you should go. So keep your eyes open. Go to thedropshot.com, find links to everything. Hope you enjoyed. Thank you all for watching and listening. Have an excellent evening. Stay humble.
Stay humble.